I never thought my own mother would put a price tag on my life. The word urgent still echoes in my head, carved into every beat of the clock on the sterile wall. The doctor's lips kept moving, but all I heard was numbers. $5,000. That was the cost between breathing and not. I tried to nod, pretending that 5,000 was manageable, that my family's comfort meant safety. But my stomach knew better. It curled as if it already expected disappointment. The fluorescent light above me buzzed like a trapped insect, flickering against the pale blue walls. Everything felt too bright, too honest. I clutched the folder in my hands so tightly the edges cut into my palm. Paper couldn't hurt as much as betrayal, I told myself. Not yet. When I walked out of the clinic, the air was sharp with the smell of wet asphalt. My phone vibrated, Zoe's text flashing with emojis and exclamation points. Guess what I'm getting today? I didn't open it. By the time I reached home, Mom was arranging flowers in the living room. Roses, always roses. She said they made the house look alive. I hesitated at the doorway. Mom, I started, my voice a tremor I tried to swallow. The doctor called. They found what's wrong. She didn't look up. That's good. At least we know now. They said I need treatment soon. How soon? She asked, still trimming stems. Within a week, finally, she turned. And it costs around 5,000. Her hand froze. For a second, her eyes softened, and I thought maybe she'd drop the scissors, hug me, promise everything would be okay. Instead, she sighed, long and theatrical. Oh, Ava, you know money's tight right now. Tight? I almost laughed. You and Dad just redid the kitchen. She frowned, lips pressed thin. That was different. The loan 5,000, Mom. My voice cracked. You'd spend that on a vacation without blinking. Her expression shifted, half pity, half annoyance. You're being dramatic. You always exaggerate. Her words landed harder than I expected. Dramatic. That was her favorite label for me whenever I showed emotion. I watched her place each flower carefully into the vase, the scissors clinking softly like punctuation marks to my pain. I wanted to scream. Instead, I stood there motionless, while the scent of roses filled the air, sweet and suffocating. Maybe you should ask your father, she added casually, as if she hadn't just said no to saving me. He's better at budgeting. She walked past me, perfume trailing behind like smoke. From the hallway, Zoe's laughter spilled out of her room. Music thumped, upbeat, glittering. I heard Dad's muffled voice too, cheerful for once. You're going to love it, he said. Love what? I followed the sound until I saw them through the cracked door, Dad carrying a stack of shiny car magazines, Zoe bouncing on her bed. Is it the Porsche? She squealed. Maybe, he teased. The world tilted a little. A Porsche? My chest tightened until breathing felt like punishment. I stepped back before they noticed, pressing my hand against the wall for balance. The wallpaper's cool texture grounded me, barely. Dinner that night was quiet except for the clink of silverware. I waited until halfway through the meal to try again. Mom, I said carefully, did you think about what I asked? Her fork paused mid-air. Ava, please, not during dinner. Dad glanced between us. What's this about? She wants 5,000 for some treatment, Mom said, her voice dripping with weary disapproval. It's not some treatment, I snapped. It's necessary. Dad cleared his throat. Honey, maybe we can't, she interrupted sharply. Not after the down payment. Down payment for what? I asked. Silence. Zoe's smile widened, guilty and radiant. Mom? Evelyn set her fork down, folded her napkin, and smiled the kind of smile you give strangers. You'll see tomorrow. The air turned heavier after that, like the house itself was holding its breath. The sound of the dishwasher hummed, but underneath it, I could hear something else, the slow shatter of trust. That night, I lay in bed, listening to rain tapping against the window, soft but relentless. My phone lit up again, another message from Zoe. This time I opened it. A photo of a red sports car wrapped in ribbon. She said I deserve it after working so hard this semester. I stared at the screen until the image blurred. Maybe I'd done something wrong. Maybe being quiet, responsible, and low maintenance made me invisible. Mom always said Zoe needed more attention. Maybe this was what attention bought, chrome and horsepower. But $5,000 for my life? Was that too much? I thought. About the folder on my nightstand, the one with the doctor's notes, the test results, the treatment plan. I ran my fingers over it, feeling the sharp edge of the paper dig into my skin. The pain grounded me again, a reminder that I was still here. I whispered to the dark, I'm still here, Outside, thunder rolled low and distant. Somewhere beyond the rain, I imagined the sound of an engine starting the purr of Zoe's new car. It was probably just in my head, but it sounded close to close, like it was parked right under my window. I pictured Mom smiling in the driver's seat next to her favorite daughter, waving to the neighbors, proud of her generosity, and me inside this room, counting the seconds between thunderclaps, wondering how a family could look so alive while one of its own was quietly disappearing. I didn't know it yet, but that no was the start of something much darker than illness. Zoe's laughter used to make me smile. Now, it makes me sick. There was a time when that laugh meant home, high-pitched, careless, the sound of a sister who believed the world existed only to entertain her. But now, it felt like nails dragged across glass. I'd been awake since dawn, my chest tight from the treatment papers still lying folded on my nightstand. I kept replaying Mom's words from last night, "We can't afford that right now, sweetheart." The way she'd said sweetheart felt rehearsed, like she was reading from a script she didn't believe in. The kitchen smelled like toasted bread and expensive perfume when I walked in. Mom stood by the counter, holding her coffee like it was a prop, not a comfort. Her robe shimmered faintly under the morning light. She didn't look tired. I did. Me quietly. "Morning, Mom," without looking up. "You're up early. How are you feeling?" Me, "A little weak, but I'll manage." She nods but doesn't ask more. Her eyes flick toward the window, not me. Then came the sound, the sharp, gleeful beep of a car horn outside. Mom's lips twitched into something close to a smile, and she set her cup down with a tremor that wasn't from caffeine. "Mom, oh, she's here." Me, "Who?" "Mom, Zoe." She said she had a surprise. Her voice lifted like a stage actress waiting for applause. Through the kitchen window, sunlight glinted off something metallic and too bright to be ordinary. Then I saw it, a brand new white convertible, the kind you'd only see in commercials. Zoe stepped out in a cream dress, phone in hand, her laughter spilling across the driveway like perfume. The sound made the house feel smaller. "Zoe, Mom, come see. Do you like it?" She twirled the key ring in her fingers, the logo catching the light BMW. Mom gasping, "Oh my goodness, Zoe, is that?" Zoe grinning, "Mine. Well, technically ours, but mostly mine." Me under my breath, "Ours? Mom, how did you?" Zoe, "Dad helped me finance it. He said it's a graduation gift. Said I deserve something special for all the hard work." Hard work. The word stung. I could still feel the form mark on my arm from the hospital visit 2 days ago. Me, "Congratulations." Zoe smiling too wide. "Thanks, sis. Don't be jealous." Mom chuckling, "Ava wouldn't be jealous. She's proud of you." Her hand grazed my shoulder, too soft, too staged. Even her touch felt like guilt covered in warmth. I wanted to tell her. That $5,000 she said they couldn't afford. It was sitting in the driveway, wrapped in white paint and leather seats. But I stayed silent. Rage had a strange way of freezing me. It wasn't loud yet. It just hummed quietly beneath my ribs. Zoe took selfies against the hood of her car, her reflection flashing across the windshield, perfect and hollow. I noticed the bracelet on her wrist, gold, with our initials engraved. The same one Mom said she lost years ago. My fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. Me, "Nice bracelet." Zoe distracted, "Oh, this old thing? Found it in Mom's drawer. She said I could have it." Mom interrupting quick, "It's fine, Ava. It suits her better." The lie slid through her voice, effortlessly smooth, almost kind. Me forcing a smile. "Of course." The smell of champagne filled the air, cold, sharp, celebratory. Mom popped the cork like she was exorcising guilt with bubbles. The sound made me flinch. The house was warm, but I couldn't stop shivering. The sunlight streaming through the blinds hit my face, and it felt too bright, almost intrusive, like it wanted me to watch to see the line drawn clearly between daughter and replacement. Last winter, I'd asked Mom to drive me home from the hospital after my biopsy. She said she couldn't. Zoe had a photo shoot and needed help with outfits. I'd sat in the waiting area for 2 hours, wrapped in a thin blanket, while the receptionist offered me water and pity. That was the night I stopped calling Mom, Mom in my head. She'd become Evelyn, the woman who birthed me, not the one who'd save me. Zoe raising her glass, to family and to dreams coming true. Mom, to Zoe's bright future. They clinked glasses. I didn't lift mine. Me quietly, "Yeah, to dreams." My voice cracked, but they didn't notice. Or maybe they did, and that made it easier to ignore. Every laugh, every sip, Every sparkle of that damn car key felt like a message. You're replaceable. I realized something then. The illness wasn't what was killing me. It was the way love had conditions. Evelyn's eyes met mine briefly, not with guilt, but relief, as if my silence was a problem solved. The wind outside shifted, carrying the faint smell of engine oil and champagne. It mixed oddly sweetness and gasoline, the scent of celebration and decay. Zoe revved the car again, the engine's growl echoing through the quiet street. The vibration rattled the glasses on the counter, and as Zoe revved the engine, I realized I wasn't the one dying. This family was. Everyone has a breaking point. Mine came wrapped in red ribbon. Every morning, the sound reached me before sunlight did. That engine's smug roar, slicing through my half-sleep like a reminder. Zoe's car, her graduation gift. The first few times I heard it, I tried to tune it out. By the fourth day, it was all I could hear. I'd lie there in bed, fingers pressed against my temples, waiting for it to stop. But it never did. She'd rev the engine twice, like clockwork, before driving off. The same way a child jingles a toy just to remind you it's hers. Sometimes I wondered if Evelyn heard it too, if it scraped at her conscience the way it scraped at my nerves. But every time I saw her, she looked refreshed, glowing, as if guilt had become her skincare routine. Me. Can you ask her to keep it down in the mornings? Evelyn not looking up from her phone. She's just excited. Ava, let her enjoy her moment. Me. Her moment happens at 6:30 a.m. every day. Evelyn, you don't have to make this about you. Her tone was calm, but her eyes flicked quick, defensive. That twitch in her jaw again. The same one I'd started noticing whenever Money or Zoe came up. Me. I'm not. Evelyn interrupting. Ava, you need rest. Don't start another argument. The word another sat heavy in my throat, like I was some chronic disease she was tired of managing. The kitchen light buzzed faintly. The smell of coffee had gone bitter from sitting too long on the warmer. My spoon trembled against the mug, not from weakness this time, but rage trying to find its way out. I watched Evelyn's reflection in the window as she scrolled her phone, her smile softening whenever Zoe texted. She didn't see me staring, or maybe she did and pretended not to. Either way, the silence between us was louder than the engine outside. I remembered last month, the doctor's call, his voice steady but heavy. Ava, if you delay the procedure much longer. That sentence never finished. Because I couldn't afford to hear the rest, I told myself I wasn't angry at Zoe. But every time I heard that engine, every laugh, every photo of her holding champagne, something inside me decayed a little more. Not my body, my hope. Me quietly. Do you ever think about fairness? Evelyn snapping her phone shut. What's that supposed to mean? Me. You said we couldn't afford my treatment. Then Zoe gets a car, jewelry, a trip to Bali. Evelyn cutting in, her smile tight. Ava, life isn't about keeping score. Me, it is when one of us is dying while the other gets rewarded for existing. The silence that followed wasn't peace, it was punishment. Evelyn blinked once, her lips parting slightly like she might speak. But she didn't. She just turned away, grabbed her mug, and walked off. The sound of her heels hitting the tile echoed like small, deliberate gunshots. That evening, a delivery arrived. A small box tied with a red ribbon. It sat on the counter, gleaming under the light. Zoe's voice floated from the hallway, excited and sugary. Zoe, it's my new perfume set. Isn't the ribbon pretty? The ribbon. Scarlet, satin, careless luxury. I stared at it too long, feeling heat crawl up my neck. Something about it, the way it shimmered, felt like mockery. I wanted to scream, but instead, I laughed, quietly. The kind of laugh that scares you when it comes out, because it doesn't sound like you anymore. Evelyn turned toward me, confused. Evelyn, what's funny? Me. Nothing. Just. Pretty ribbon. I walked away before she could answer. Inside my room, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall until my vision blurred. My hands trembled uncontrollably, not from illness this time, but from the weight of realization. They weren't going to save me. They'd already chosen who mattered. When I was 12, Evelyn wrapped my birthday gift in the same kind of ribbon, bright red, perfectly tied. Inside had been a small silver bracelet with both our initials. You're my miracle baby, she'd said back then. Now, I couldn't even look at her without feeling something rot inside me. Zoe from hallway. Ava, you okay? You look pale. Me. I'm fine. Zoe, you sure? You've been, quiet lately. Me. Just tired. Zoe shrugging. You should get some air. Staying in this dark room all day can't be good for you. Her tone wasn't cruel, it was worse. It was indifferent. That hollow kind of concern people fake so they can sleep at night. Me softly. Good night, Zoe. The house was quiet now. Just the faint tick of the clock and the occasional creak of the wooden floorboards shifting under their secrets. Moonlight slid across my desk, illuminating the blank pages of an old notebook. I picked up a pen. The first word came out shaky. Today. Then more followed. Details, phrases, moments. Evelyn's words. Zoe's laughter. The sound of the car. The red ribbon. It felt like bleeding without the pain. Like carving proof out of silence. Somewhere between the ink and the tears, something inside me shifted. I wasn't writing just to remember anymore. I was documenting. Every word was a witness statement. Every page a quiet scream. They'd one day have to hear. I wrote until my fingers cramped, until dawn threatened to erase the night's courage. Then I closed the journal and whispered, almost to myself. Me whisper, this isn't for them. It's for me. That was the night I stopped being their daughter and started being their witness. Silence has a sound cold, heavy, like the air before a storm. Dinner used to mean something in our house. Now it feels like punishment. The clinking of silverware against porcelain louder than anyone's words. The chandelier hums faintly above, its golden light reflecting off Zoe's new bracelet, a gift from my mother. One that used to be mine until she decided I didn't wear it enough. The roast chicken smells of rosemary and burnt resentment. My father sits at the head of the table, eyes fixed on his plate like he's afraid eye contact might burn him. I try to speak, but the air between us feels thick, like breathing through cotton. Evelyn, my mother. We finalized the charity gala schedule today. It's exhausting, you know, keeping everything running smoothly. Her tone is too bright, every word polished to perfection. Me, that's good. You always liked helping people except the one sitting right across from her. Zoe. Oh, and guess what? Ryan booked tickets for Bali. We're thinking of going next month. Evelyn smiling. You deserve it, darling. After all your hard work. My fork trembles slightly. I hide it beneath the tablecloth. No one asks about my medication, my doctor, or the test results that came back yesterday. Me. The doctor says the fatigue's spreading faster. The silence that follows is surgical, precise, and cutting. Evelyn without looking up. You should stay positive, Ava. Dwelling on it won't help. She says it like she's commenting on the weather. Like I caught a mild cold instead of a slow death. There's a way her words land, light on the surface, heavy underneath. I study her profile, the way her lips purse when she pretends to care. Zoe shifts uncomfortably, reaching for her glass of wine. My father finally looks up briefly, then back down. That flicker of guilt again, quick, like a candle catching wind. Zoe. Mom, did you ever hear back from the sponsor about the luxury car raffle? Evelyn, yes, and thankfully they agreed to double the budget. Can you believe it? Some families just have no sense of gratitude. The irony hits me like acid. Gratitude from the woman who refused to spend a fraction of that on my treatment. Me quietly. Some families, yeah. Her eyes lift, sharp and knowing. She holds my gaze for just a moment before smiling sweetly. Evelyn, I hope you're not implying something, dear. Me. Would it matter if I was? Her fork clinks against her plate. Evelyn. Don't start, Ava. We've all been under stress lately. You're not the only one dealing with things. There it is, the invisible knife. She twists it without raising her voice. The air conditioner hums. A clock ticks somewhere in the distance, its rhythm out of sync with my heartbeat. Even the walls seem to lean closer, listening. I excuse myself halfway through dinner and wander toward the hallway. The hardwood floor creaks, the only honest sound in this house. I remember being 10, sitting on the same steps, listening to my mother laugh on the phone. She was telling someone how Ava's so sensitive, cries over everything. Back then, I thought she was joking. Now I realize she's been rehearsing that line for years. In the days after, Dad starts avoiding the dining room altogether. I catch glimpses of him in his study, door half closed, phone pressed to his ear, his voice low, trembling. One night, as I pass by, I hear her name, Evelyn, followed by something else. You can't keep this from her forever. The line freezes me mid-step. The bracelet on my wrist, the one she gave back when I was younger, feels colder, tighter. What could they possibly be hiding from me now? Evelyn, faint from the phone. She needs to stop playing the victim. I'm exhausted, David. I can't keep pretending to care every minute of the day. There's a long pause. Then, her laughter low, practiced, cruel. My stomach twists. The words replay in my head like an echo in a sealed room. Pretending to care. So that's what love meant to her, a performance for guests, a script she could abandon once the curtains closed. I grip the banister until my fingers ache. For a moment, I imagine confronting her. But then I see my father's face, the hollow eyes, the guilt. He knows. He's always known. Lightning flashes outside, reflecting across the glass cabinet. For half a second, I see my own reflection, pale, tired, furious. When I finally caught him staring at me one night, he looked like a man hiding something. He couldn't look at me without flinching, like my face was a confession he couldn't bear. I waited until the house went quiet. Evelyn's heels had clicked up the stairs an hour ago, and the faint sound of running water from her bathroom was the only thing left between us. Dad sat in the study again, slouched in that same chair, staring at the unlit fireplace. His hands were clasped tight, knuckles pale, like he was holding back something heavier than words. The air smelled faintly of whiskey and old paper. The clock on the wall ticked like a heartbeat that didn't want to stop. I stepped into the room. He didn't turn. Emmy, you've been avoiding me. Richard quietly. That's not true. Me. Then look at me. He tried. I watched the effort in his jaw, the way his lips parted, then closed again, like even my existence was a wound he couldn't face. Emmy softly. What is it, Dad? What did she say to you? He rubbed his temples. Ava, please. Not tonight. There it was again, that plea, that tired escape route he used every time she turned me into a problem he couldn't fix. Me. You think if you pretend long enough, it'll stop being real? I didn't want to break him. I didn't come here to drag guilt out of him like blood. But the silence between us had stretched too long, too cruelly. I needed something, even a lie, to prove I wasn't invisible. He sighed. Then finally, he looked up. His eyes were glassy, heavy with something between shame and surrender. Richard, I wanted to help you. Those words nearly stopped me. Emmy. Then why didn't you? Richard. Because he swallowed, voice trembling. She said we couldn't show favoritism. That helping you would divide the family. For a moment, I actually laughed. It came out small and cracked, the kind of sound that doesn't know if it's grief or disbelief. Emmy. Favoritism? He nodded, shame written in every slow blink. Emmy. So my treatment, my life would have made her look unfair? Richard, barely audible. She said people talk. About money. About appearances. You know how she is. Yes, I knew exactly how she was. Image first. Feelings later. Truth never. The lamp between us flickered, throwing uneven light across his face. Every shadow carved his guilt deeper, like the house itself wanted to expose him. I noticed a small envelope on the edge of his desk, half tucked beneath a book. His hand twitched toward it before pulling back. Emmy quietly. What's that? He hesitated, then pushed it toward me. Richard, it's all I could save. It's not enough, but maybe it'll help a little. I stared at the envelope. My name written in his handwriting. Inside, a small stack of bills wrinkled. Hidden money from a man who'd been too afraid to love me publicly, for the first time in weeks. Something in me thawed. Emmy, you didn't have to. Richard, I did. I should have done more. I should have fought her. He said it like a prayer already too late to be answered. Me. Why didn't you? He opened his mouth, then closed it. His fingers trembled. The silence stretched again. Not cold this time, just hollow. I wanted to forgive him. I almost did. Because for one fragile moment, I saw the father. I remembered the man who used to build forts with me in the living room, who'd sneak me cookies behind her back. But then I heard Evelyn's laughter upstairs, sharp, confident, unbreakable, and I remembered what fear looked like when it wore a wedding ring. By morning, the envelope was gone. I didn't even realize it until Evelyn's voice sliced through the hallway like a blade. Evelyn, Ava. Her heels hammered against the marble floor. I stepped out of my room, and she was already there. The envelope in her hand ripped open. Evelyn, furious, cold. Do you want to explain this? Me, steady. Dad gave it to me. She turned to him, her eyes sharp enough to cut glass. Evelyn, Richard. Tell me you didn't. He stood frozen in the doorway of his study, face pale. Richard. Evelyn, she needs it. Evelyn interrupting, venomous. She needs to stop manipulating us. Her voice cracked, half rage, half control. Evelyn mocking. You think you can guilt your father into emptying his wallet? How pathetic. Her hands shook, but her smile didn't. That's how I knew she was angrier than she wanted to show. Dad's eyes darted between us, a man caught between loyalty and cowardice. Me. It wasn't manipulation. He offered, Evelyn, because he's weak. Because you've always known how to make him feel sorry for you. She took a step closer, perfume sharp. Voice soft like poison. Evelyn, you were always the mistake I couldn't fix. The words didn't hit immediately. They just hung there floating, echoing until they sank under my skin and burned. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt everything inside me go still. Maybe that's when something in me broke. Or maybe it was the first time I finally stopped breaking. The bracelet on my wrist, once hers, then mine, then Zoe's, caught the light. I twisted it slowly, feeling the metal dig into my skin. Outside, thunder rolled again. A sound like the world taking sides. Evelyn stormed off, muttering about ungrateful children. Dad stood there, unmoving. The envelope lay torn on the floor, money scattered like fallen leaves. He bent to pick it up, but I stopped him. Me quietly. Leave it. He looked up, eyes hollow. Pleading. Me whisper. It's already too late. That night, something inside me broke and something else began to wake up. Some battles aren't fought with weapons, they're fought with silence and patience. Silence became my shield. After that night, after Mom's words carved through me like broken glass, I stopped arguing. I realized something. Pleading only gave her more power. Every tear, every desperate word, she wore it like proof that I was weak. So I stopped giving her that satisfaction. I started watching instead, listening, recording when I could. It began quietly, like the hum of a storm still forming miles away. My phone, always on silent, resting under a folded napkin. When she called Zoe, a blessing in front of guests. While I sat inches away, invisible, inside, something began to take shape. Not anger anymore, but strategy. Evelyn, calling from the dining room. Sweet tone masking control. Ava, dear, can you not sit there like a ghost? You're making the guests uncomfortable. Me. Sorry, Mom. My voice steady, eyes lowered, every word measured for her comfort, not mine. Guest, your daughters are so different, Evelyn. Zoe's so full of life. Evelyn, laughing lightly, squeezing Zoe's shoulder. Zoe was born to shine. Ava's, more of a thinker. Laughter follows. My phone records every second. Later, when everyone leaves. Evelyn, you could at least smile. Do you want people to pity you? Me. Maybe I do. Her jaw tightens, a flicker, like a glitch in her perfect mask. Evelyn, don't test me. Ava. Me. Quietly, wouldn't dream of it. In my mind, I mark the time stomp. The chandelier light reflected off the glass table, sharp and cold like her. The air smelled faintly of lilies, the kind she insisted on keeping, though I hated them. Every time I inhaled, it felt like swallowing poison. That night, I lay in bed listening to the faint creak of the hallway floorboards. Her footsteps, deliberate, rehearsed. My hand brushed the bracelet on my wrist, the one Dad gave me when I turned 16. It had a small clasp, big enough to hide a memory card. A thought formed, maybe I could make it more than a keepsake. Days later, I started volunteering at the hospital, just a few hours a week between treatments. The sterile smell of antiseptic mixed with something softer, gratitude. People there didn't look at me with pity. They looked at me like I mattered. There was Mrs. Harlan, a retired nurse with shaky hands but eyes full of steel. You remind me of myself, she said once, handing me a clipboard. Quiet girls are dangerous when they've had enough. Her words hit deeper than she knew. Each visit, I'd come home calmer, but sharper. I started saving everything. Messages, bills, copies of insurance forms. Every piece of paper that carried my name became a weapon in the making. Zoe texting, guess what? The car's finally mine. Mom helped sign the papers. Can't wait to show it off. I stared at the screen, numb. Later that night, I asked Dad carefully. Me. Did Mom use my college fund for Zoe's loan? He froze, blinked twice. His throat moved. No words. Me. Dad? Richard. Barely whispering, it was Evelyn's idea. She said you weren't going to need it anymore. The room tilted. My hand tightened around the phone until my knuckles burned. Me. She said that? Richard. Ava, please. I walked away before he could finish. The air felt heavy, thick with everything he didn't say. The night was colder than usual. Rain whispered against the windows, slow and steady, like it knew what was coming. I sat in the dark, watching drops trace lines down the glass. Each one felt like a countdown. I replayed Mom's voice messages in my head, her sweet tone, her cutting words disguised as concern. I started labeling each recording by date, saving them to an encrypted drive. It wasn't just survival anymore. It was preparation. Part of me still wanted her approval, a small, broken part that kept hoping she'd knock on my door and say, "I'm sorry." But I knew better. Forgiveness was a luxury I couldn't afford. I didn't need closure. I needed control. And control started with silence. Every moment I held my tongue. She underestimated me more, and that, I realized, was the most dangerous advantage of all. That bracelet, once a reminder of who I was, became something else entirely. I hid a tiny recorder inside it, just as an experiment. When she told Zoe, "Never end up like your sister," the red light blinked once. Proof. That's when I decided if they wouldn't save my life, I'd make sure they remembered it. Sometimes the universe sends monsters to fight monsters. The first time I met Daniel, he was sitting alone in the hospital, calf leather jacket, messy notebook. The kind of man who looked like he'd seen too much and trusted too little. The smell of burnt coffee clung to the air, mixed with disinfectant and rain-soaked coats. I was there to file patient reports for Mrs. Harlan's ward, but somehow, his eyes caught mine, sharp, assessing, like he was reading between sentences. I hadn't spoken yet. I didn't know it then. But that conversation would change everything. "Daniel," gesturing to the chair across, "you're the one who helps out in oncology, right?" "Me. Sometimes. Depends who's asking." "Daniel." Half smile, voice rough. "Daniel." "Journalist. I'm writing about healthcare funding gaps." "You look like someone who's lived the story, not just read it." I froze. "Journalist." The word felt dangerous. Exposure meant losing control. Me. "I don't think my story would help you, Daniel. Try me." "Me. It's not a story. It's just my family." "Daniel, families make the best stories, especially when they're the ones holding the knife." He said it lightly, but his eyes didn't blink when he did. Outside, thunder rolled low and distant, as if echoing something unsaid between us. A fluorescent light above our table flickered once, humming like it was tired of staying steady. The coffee in my cup had gone cold, leaving a faint oily sheen on the surface. I stared at it, thinking how easy it was for something warm to turn bitter without anyone noticing. Daniel noticed the bracelet on my wrist when I reached for my bag. "Daniel, that's unique." "Recorder?" My pulse stumbled. "Me. Just a bracelet." "Daniel, pretty solid for just." He leaned back, eyes narrowing slightly, reading me like a draft that needed editing. I should have left. Instead, I asked, "What do you do when people stop believing your truth?" He didn't hesitate. "Daniel, you prove it on record. With dates, receipts, evidence." Emotions fade. Documents don't. Something in the way he said it, steady, methodical, made the air around us shift. I thought about my mother's laughter, Zoe's new car, Dad's silence. Every lie they'd coded in affection. Me softly. "You think exposure fixes betrayal?" "Daniel, no, but it evens the scales." Before I could reply, a nurse called my name. Mrs. Harlan's blood pressure had dropped suddenly. I ran down the hall, heart pounding, the bracelet clinking against my wrist. In the chaos, machines beeping, rain hammering the window. Daniel followed, watching quietly as I stabilized Mrs. Harlan's floor under supervision. When it was over, and the ward fell back into its mechanical rhythm, he was still there. "Daniel, you don't give up easily." "I like that." "Me. You shouldn't." "It's not a compliment." He chuckled, but his eyes stayed serious. "Daniel, you think you're surviving, but you're already fighting. You just don't know it yet." That night, I couldn't sleep. The hospital's corridor lights burned into memory, white, endless, sterile. Daniel's words replayed, "You're already fighting." He didn't mean revenge, but I heard it that way. I opened my drawer and took out the drive containing all my recordings, each file named after the date. My mother said something that broke a piece of me. Daniel's advice echoed in my head. Receipts, messages, timestamps. For the first time, I didn't feel like a victim collecting pain. I felt like a prosecutor building a case. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Me. Hello." "Daniel, you don't sleep much, do you?" "Me. How did you get my number?" "Daniel, nurse gave it to me. Said you left your notepad." Pause. I didn't believe him, but I didn't hang up either. "Daniel, I wasn't lying earlier. If you want to expose the truth, I can help. But it comes with a cost." "Me. What kind? Daniel, privacy. Once it's out, you can't take it back. You'll lose control of the narrative. Me, then maybe I'll just keep it quiet. Daniel, that's what they want. Silence stretched heavy. Intimate, dangerous. Rain drummed against the glass. Harder now. Lightning lit the room, revealing my reflection. Pale, hollow-eyed, but alive. The bracelet glinted faintly in the light. The red recorder LED, blinking like a heartbeat, for the first time. I didn't turn it off. Somewhere between fear and exhaustion, I realized I was already moving. Every recording, every note, every interaction now had purpose. Daniel wasn't the hero of this story. Maybe he was just another monster. But maybe that's exactly what I needed, a monster who aimed his teeth at other monsters. I told Daniel. I wasn't ready for revenge, but revenge was already ready for me. Truth doesn't need to scream sometimes, it just waits to be played. I'd stopped shaking weeks ago. Now, my hands moved with precision, calm, deliberate. It was strange how grief could sharpen you. That morning, while Mom hummed in the kitchen, I downloaded a simple recording app. No fancy spyware, no complicated setup. Just a red circle that meant record. It started as curiosity or maybe punishment. I wanted to know what she said when I wasn't in the room. How she twisted my absence into gossip. How she painted my illness as weakness. I placed my phone between the couch cushions, hit record, and left to rest. From the hallway, I heard laughter. That high, polished tone Mom used when pretending to be someone else. It scraped my nerves raw. Evelyn light, mocking. Oh, don't pity her, Sandra. Ava's always been dramatic. She makes a cough sound like cancer. Sandra, but she's really sick, isn't she? Evelyn, please. If she spent half the energy on work that she spends on self-pity, she'd afford her own treatment. Laughter. Evelyn lowering her voice. Anyway, Zoe finally got the car. You should have seen her face. Worth every dollar. At least one daughter knows how to make me proud. Sandra. And Ava? Evelyn sighing. If Ava dies, at least she'll stop asking for money. My lungs forgot how to breathe. I didn't even realize my nails were digging into my palms until I felt blood. That single line delivered so casually, like discussing the weather, shattered something permanent. I replayed it once, then twice, then again, until her voice stopped sounding human. Every replay carved another layer off the illusion I'd lived under. She wasn't cruel by accident, she enjoyed it. I sat by the window, sunlight spilling across my lap, but I couldn't feel its warmth. All I could hear was that voice, her voice. If Ava dies. The words replayed like a heartbeat. The air felt heavier that afternoon. Dust motes floated lazily through beams of light, indifferent to my shaking breath. Outside, a dog barked, too distant, too normal. Inside, silence became a living thing. It pressed against the walls, waiting for me to break it. Me whispering, if Ava dies, then what, Mom? Peace for you? Silence. Me, you really said that? I laughed, but it sounded like someone else's voice, brittle and cracked. That night, I didn't delete the recording. I saved it twice. One file labeled Truth, MP3, another, just her. I started watching her differently after that. Every smile, every fake apology, the little tremor in her hand when Zoe mentioned money. I noticed things I'd missed before. How she lingered by the mirror too long, adjusting the mask. How her compliments came one beat too late. How her laughter always sounded rehearsed. Mom wasn't a person anymore. She was a performance. And I had the recording, the script beneath the act. Zoe was oblivious then, still basking in her new car glow. She'd park it at the front just to let neighbors see. Sometimes she'd say, Mom's finally proud of me, and I'd smile, because I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth, not yet. But I started planting seeds, tiny ones, casual questions like, do you ever wonder where the money came from? Or, does Mom ever go too far to protect you? Each time Zoe frowned, brushed it off, but the thought lingered. That was enough for now. The house changed after midnight. Walls seemed thinner. The hum of the refrigerator turned sinister. I'd lie awake, phone in hand, replaying her voice until my mind blurred with static. Then one night, the air cold enough to sting, I heard Zoe in the hallway. Her footsteps paused by my door. Zoe, Ava? You awake? Me, yeah. She slipped inside, barefoot, holding my phone. My phone. Zoe confused. Why was this under the couch? My stomach dropped. She pressed play before I could speak. Evelyn from recording. If Ava dies, at least she'll stop asking for money. The sound filled the room, muffled, distorted, but unmistakable. Zoe froze. Her face drained of color. When she looked at me, I saw it, the fracture. That moment where belief collapses. I wanted to stop her, to take the phone, to protect her from it. But another part of me, the colder, quieter one, didn't move. This was the beginning. The truth finally had an audience. Zoe's lips parted, but no sound came out. She just stared at the phone, then at me, like trying to unhear what she'd heard. I said nothing. Sometimes silence tells the story better. The recording ended with a soft click. The air felt heavier again, metallic, thick. Zoe's hand trembled as she set the phone down on the table. In that silence, I heard something new. Not guilt, not anger, recognition, because once the truth is played, you can't unlisten. When Zoe accidentally overheard that recording, everything began to unravel. Zoe's face went pale, the first time I'd ever seen her without her mask. She stood in my doorway like a ghost, wearing my sister's skin. The phone hung loosely from her hand, the screen dim but still showing the waveform of our mother's voice. For a few seconds, she didn't move. Neither did I. I could hear her breathing, shallow, uneven, the kind that comes right before someone admits they've seen something they shouldn't. Part of me wanted to reach for her, to comfort her the way I used to when we were kids. But another part of me, colder, quieter, waited. Let her speak first. Let her feel it. Zoe, that wasn't her. She didn't mean it like that. Me, didn't mean it. She said if I die, it'd make things easier. Zoe, voice trembling. You don't understand how she gets when she's stressed. She says things she doesn't mean half of it. Me, half would still be too much. She pressed the phone to her chest, as if clutching it could erase what she'd just heard. The silence between us stretched thin. Outside, the wind scraped against the windows, dry and restless. The night had gone heavy, like it was listening too. Zoe's eyes darted everywhere but mine. She always did that when she was lying. Couldn't hold still. Her fingers kept tracing invisible shapes against her thigh. Zoe, just, please, don't tell anyone. Mom's been through so much already. This'll destroy her. It'll destroy us. Me, us. Zoe whispering. You know what people will say. That we're broken. That she's a monster. Do you really want that? Her words were a knife wrapped in velvet, soft enough to almost sound reasonable. I'd spent years mistaking that tone for love. I wanted to yell, to make her hear the rot behind those words. But I didn't. Anger was too easy. Silence had more power now. I just looked at her, long enough that she started to shift, uneasy. That's when I realized she wasn't heartless. Just afraid. Afraid of losing the illusion. Afraid of being part of the same ugliness she'd pretended didn't exist. The room smelled faintly of rain, that sharp, metallic scent drifting through the open window. My lamp flickered once, throwing her shadow across the wall. Zoe's reflection trembled in the glass, distorted, like her mask was melting in real time. Me, you said it'll ruin us. But tell me, Zoe, what exactly are we trying to protect? Zoe, our family. What's left of it? Me, what's left? I laughed softly, almost to myself. I think that died long before I got sick. Zoe, stop it. Me, no, you stop pretending she's still the mother we used to know. She flinched. Her mouth opened, then closed again. The muscles in her jaw twitched like she was holding back something bitter. I could see her walls cracking, the practiced smile faltering, her perfect posture collapsing. Her eyes darted toward the door, then back to me, like she was calculating escape routes from a truth too sharp to face. And then, quietly, I said the only thing that mattered. Me, if you really care, prove it. The words landed between us like glass shattering. Zoe blinked. What do you mean? I leaned forward, my voice steady. Don't ask me to hide what she's done. Don't ask me to lie for her again. If you care, then help me expose her. Her breath hitched. For a heartbeat, I thought she might agree. But then the fear returned, quick, familiar. She stepped back. Her silence told me everything. Not yes, not no, just fear. The kind that rots courage before it can form. I could almost hear her thoughts spinning behind her eyes. What will people think? What if Mom finds out? What if this ruins me too? Zoe wasn't evil. She was weak. And weakness, I realized, could be just as dangerous. A branch scraped against the window, shrill and hollow. Zoe's shadow flickered across the floor as the hallway light dimmed. For a second, Her outline looked like Mom's, same stiff shoulders, same defensive stance. I felt the chill crawl up my arms. Zoe, please, Ava, just don't make this worse. Me, worse? I tilted my head. You think telling the truth makes it worse? She didn't answer. Me lower, almost kind. You should go. Her lips trembled, but she nodded. She placed my phone on the table like it was something toxic, then walked toward the door. Her footsteps faded down the hallway, slow at first, then faster, like she couldn't stand to be near me anymore. When the door closed, the house fell quiet again. The kind of quiet that hums in your bones. I stared at the phone still lying there, the screen now black, my reflection faint in the glass. I'd thought I wanted her to hear the truth. But now, watching her run from it, I understood something deeper. The truth doesn't break people. It shows who they've been all along. Rain started tapping against the window, slow, rhythmic, like a countdown. Somewhere outside, an engine turned over. Headlights flared across my curtains, then vanished down the street. By morning, Zoe's car wasn't in the driveway anymore, and neither was she. When the golden child disappears, every lie starts to echo. Zoe's absence started like a silence that didn't belong in our house. No laughter from her room, no perfume trail in the hallway. Just absence, loud, heavy, accusing. At first, I thought she'd gone to a friend's place, maybe to clear her head after what happened with the recording. But by the next morning, Evelyn's voice started shaking when she said, "She's not answering my calls." I sat on the couch, clutching the edge of my blanket, watching my mother pace the living room like a general who'd just lost her favorite soldier. My phone buzzed with neighborhood group messages. Is Zoe okay? We saw Evelyn crying outside. The irony stung. The woman who once boasted about control now couldn't control the narrative. Evelyn panicked, brittle. You must have said something to her. You did, didn't you? Me. Said something? She confronted me, Mom. Remember? The recording? Evelyn snapping. Don't twist this, Ava. She's not like you, she's sensitive. If she's hurt, it's because you pushed her. Me flatly. I didn't push anyone. Maybe she's just tired of pretending. Her face froze. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback ready. I watched her jaw clench, that familiar twitch she couldn't hide when someone got too close to the truth. She turned away, muttering something about calling the police, but her voice lacked conviction. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan. The blades cut the darkness rhythmically, a metronome for guilt. I wondered if Zoe was safe, or if she finally realized how hollow our family had become. Somewhere between pity and anger, a thought whispered, what if she finally saw Evelyn for who she really is? The house smelled like cold coffee and panic. The walls that once glowed with warmth now felt gray, stale. My mother's heels echoed across the marble floor, sharp and anxious, like small hammers driving nails into her perfect facade. Outside, rain began to fall, thin, steady, relentless. It was the same sound that played the night Dad left for the hospital. Neighbor through gate, concerned. Any news about Zoe? Evelyn forcing a smile. She's fine, just needed space. You know how emotional young people can be. Her voice trembled on the word fine. Neighbor hesitant. You called the police though, right? Evelyn, of course. But I knew she hadn't, not until people started asking. She cared more about appearances than her missing daughter. Later that evening, Evelyn finally broke. She sat at the kitchen table, staring into her untouched tea. Her makeup had melted into soft shadows under her eyes. For once, she looked human, fragile, desperate. Evelyn quietly. I don't understand. She wouldn't just vanish. Me softly. People don't vanish, Mom. They escape. She flinched. 2 days of silence stretched into an ache. The longer Zoe stayed gone, the more I saw Evelyn unravel. The golden child had always been her mirror, obedient, smiling, beautifully curated. Without her, the reflection cracked, and then on the third evening the front door creaked open. I looked up. Zoe stood there. Her hair was disheveled, mascara smeared, eyes bloodshot. But it wasn't exhaustion, it was grief. Me rushing to her. Zoe, where have you been? She blinked like she didn't know how to answer. Zoe, hoarse whisper. Don't ask, please. Evelyn ran, and seconds later, the performance instantly returning. Evelyn, teary, overjoyed. Oh my God. Thank God. Where were you? Zoe, avoiding her gaze. Nowhere. I just needed to think. Her tone was hollow, mechanical, a lie dressed as calm. Later that night, I received a message from Zoe's friend, Mia. It read, she tried to sell the car, Ava. The one your mom gifted her. She said she needed money for your treatment, but your mom found out and stopped it. Called her ungrateful. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. My throat tightened. So that's what she'd been doing. For once, Zoe had tried to do something right and Evelyn crushed her for it. Me. You stopped her from selling the car. Evelyn defensive, sharp. That car was a symbol of our family's success. She was about to embarrass us. Me. Embarrass you, maybe. She just wanted to help me. Evelyn bitter laugh. Help? By throwing our name in the dirt? No, Ava. I won't let one of my daughters ruin what I've built. Me. Then maybe that's why one ran away. And the other stopped trying. The silence that followed was colder than the rain outside. Zoe stood behind her mother, eyes glassy. She didn't defend her this time. Just whispered, I tried, Ava. I really did. Then she turned and went upstairs, leaving Evelyn alone with the echo of her own cruelty. The rain outside turned into a storm, slamming against the windows like applause for everything falling apart. The scent of wet earth filled the room, grounding me in that moment. The exact second I realized I didn't need to lift a finger for revenge. They were unraveling themselves, thread by thread. Evelyn's empire of control was collapsing, and Zoe's guilt was the final loose string. All I had to do was wait. That's when I realized I didn't need to destroy them, they'd do it themselves. Revenge doesn't always wear a mask, sometimes it wears a smile. I'd spent the entire afternoon setting the table candles, silver cutlery, soft amber lights, like I was preparing for peace instead of war. My hands didn't shake this time. They moved with the precision of someone who'd already buried her guilt. Tonight was Zoe's birthday, or at least, that's what it looked like from the outside. A family dinner, a night for smiles and forgiveness. Evelyn loved appearances, so I gave her one. She thought she'd won, that Zoe's silence meant submission, and my calm meant surrender. But I'd learned from her, if you want to destroy someone who lives for control, you don't scream. You wait, you smile, and you let them undo themselves. As the doorbell rang, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. My smile looked real enough to fool God. The dining room glowed under soft chandelier light, too warm for what was coming. Roasted garlic, perfume, and the faint crackle of a candle wick mixed in the air, sweet, sharp, suffocating. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. Like the world knew it should listen. Evelyn, cheerful, rehearsed. Well, look at this, everyone together again. Just like old times. Me smiling. Exactly like old times. She didn't hear the acid under my voice. Zoe nervous. Low. The table looks beautiful, Ava. Me softly. You deserve something nice. At least for one night. Across from me, Evelyn's husband, David, poured wine. He looked tired. Too many sleepless nights caught between two women he couldn't fix. He raised his glass automatically. David, to family. The irony nearly made me laugh. Evelyn smiling, tight, to forgiveness. I clinked my glass against hers. The crystal rang like a countdown. Every word that left her mouth felt like an insult wrapped in politeness. But I let her talk. I watched her bask in the performance, hands folded neatly, lipstick perfect. The queen of her little kingdom. Zoe barely touched her food. Her eyes flicked between us, like she could sense the static under the tablecloth. I could almost hear her heart racing. Mine, though, was steady, cold, ready. In the corner, my phone sat on the console table, connected by Bluetooth to the dining room speakers. A tiny blue light blinked unnoticed by everyone but me. Evelyn had no idea her own words were waiting there, buried inside that phone. The same recording she once said no one would ever dare play. Evelyn, you know, Ava, I'm glad you're finally moving past all that drama. It's good for Zoe too. We all need a little peace, don't we? Me soft laugh. Peace. Yes. It's overdue. Evelyn. Exactly. I told everyone at church you're handling things beautifully. People notice when a family sticks together through hardship. Me nodding. People also notice when someone lies about it. She froze for half a second, just long enough to show a crack. Then she smiled wider, like she could stretch the lie back into shape. Evelyn, you always were dramatic, darling. Me. And you always were careful about what people think. David looked between us, unsure if this was casual banter or a blade fight disguised as dinner. Zoe whispered, Ava, maybe we should, but I wasn't stopping now. I stood, lifting my glass. Me cheerful tone. A toast. To Zoe for surviving another year of being the favorite. They laughed weakly. Then I added, and to Mom for reminding us what family really sounds like. Before she could react, I tapped my phone. A click, then static, and her voice filled the room. She's always been weak, David. I told you, Ava's illness isn't our problem. If she can't survive without help, maybe she doesn't deserve it. The laughter died instantly. Evelyn's fork clattered onto her plate. Zoe's breath hitched. Do you know what she said to me? Please, Mom, just 70,000. Like we're a charity. I'd rather burn that money than waste it on her. The room's warmth vanished. The candle flickered out with a hiss. Evelyn lunged across the table, eyes wild. Her perfume, once sweet, now reeked of panic. Evelyn screaming, turn it off. Ava, stop this right now. Me calm. Why? It's your voice, isn't it? Evelyn, you're sick. This is manipulation, me interrupting. Funny, that's exactly what you said about me. David's face went pale. He pushed his chair back slowly, like distance could make this less real. David quietly, Evelyn, is that really you? She stammered something, but the next line from the recording drowned her out. Zoe's the only one worth investing in. Ava's just a reminder of failure. Zoe covered her mouth, tears breaking loose. The silence afterward was heavier than thunder. There it was, the truth raw and naked, finally stripped of her control. I didn't gloat. I didn't shout. I just stood there, breathing it in like oxygen. For years, she'd fed off my guilt. Tonight, I was feeding off her silence. Evelyn pleading now, voice cracking. Ava, please. This isn't you. You don't want to hurt me. Me softly. You already did. Evelyn, we're family, me. No, we were an image. And I just erased it. Rain started again outside, hammering against the glass like applause for the truth. The chandelier light trembled, one bulb flickering out. I grabbed my coat, slipping my phone into my pocket. The faint echo of her sobs followed me down the hall. Zoe tried to stop me. Zoe broken. Ava, what now? I looked at her, the only one who still had pieces left to pick up. Me quietly. Now, we start living without pretending. But even then, I knew the story wasn't over. Not yet. The internet has a way of turning whispers into fire. By the time I woke up that morning, my phone was already shaking with notifications. At first, I thought it was one of those random spam floods until I saw my mother's name trending. Evelyn Montgomery. My fingers trembled as I opened the first video. My own voice filled the screen. The dinner argument, the slap, the moment Zoe whispered, "You ruin everything if you tell the truth." It was the recording Daniel had saved and leaked. The video had over 500,000 views already. And by noon, it wasn't just a clip anymore. It was a wildfire. For a long minute, I just sat there frozen. The room felt both too bright and suffocatingly small. The air smelled like burnt dust, stale, heavy, electric. I could almost hear the hum of chaos spreading beyond my walls. I wanted to call Daniel, but I couldn't move. A part of me was terrified. Another part wanted to smile. After all those years of silence, my pain finally had a sound. Zoe texting, frantic. Ava, what did you do? Do you have any idea what's happening to Mom? Me. Maybe she's just facing what she built. Zoe, you've destroyed our family. Everyone's calling. Reporters, donors, me. Destroyed or revealed? Pause. Zoe, you think people will side with you? You're the unstable one. They'll find a way to twist it. Me. Then let them. Truth doesn't need makeup, Zoe. The typing dots vanished. No reply. Outside, rain hit the window with slow, deliberate taps like someone testing the glass. The gray sky looked bruised, heavy with more to come. My reflection in the pane seemed like a stranger's, pale, eyes raw but calm. The world was burning, and for once, I didn't feel the need to put out the flames. By evening, news outlets had picked it up. Montgomery family scandal. Charity fraud allegations surface amid viral recording. Clips of my mother's charity galas played beside my tear-streaked voice. Former sponsors gave statements. Some pretended to be shocked. Others admitted they'd had concerns. Then came the footage of Zoe walking out of a boutique, head down, photographers shouting her name. Reporter, Zoe, any comment about your sister's claims? Zoe, no comment. But her voice cracked, and that 2-second quiver became its own viral meme. Part of me felt guilty watching her crumble. We were both raised to perform, to never let the cracks show. But guilt is a luxury I lost the night they left me begging on a hospital floor. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was justice echoing louder than my mother's control. Still, I couldn't shake one thought. Evelyn never loses quietly. When Daniel finally called, his tone was equal parts relief and dread. Daniel, it's done. The video's everywhere. She can't bury it now. Me. You did it? Daniel. I posted it anonymously. I thought you'd want it out. Me. I do. I just didn't expect it to feel like this. Daniel. Like what? Me. Like standing in the middle of the storm I prayed for. He went quiet for a beat. Daniel. You know she'll fight back. Me. I'm counting on it. I reached for the silver bracelet on my wrist, the one Evelyn gave me when I turned 18, engraved with "Forever Yours." Now it glinted under the muted light, more like a shackle than a gift. Funny how symbols change meaning when truth surfaces. I unclasped it and set it beside the laptop, the same laptop where her empire was collapsing. Comment by comment, a TV in the next apartment played an anchor's voice through the wall. The Montgomery family, known for their philanthropy, faces backlash after a viral video revealed years of manipulation and abuse allegations. Each syllable felt like a nail tapping against my pulse. I closed my eyes. For the first time, silence didn't scare me. It felt earned. Then came the unexpected twist. A stranger messaged me, someone who'd seen the video and recognized me from a support group years ago. Stranger DM, you don't know me, but your story gave me courage to leave. I started a GoFundMe for you, for your treatment. At first, I thought it was a joke, but the link was real. Thousands of comments, thousands of donations, people writing, you deserve better, stay strong, we believe you. The weight I'd carried for years began to shift, molecule by molecule. Hope is a strange sound, it doesn't roar. It hums quietly, like a heartbeat you'd forgotten was still there. For the first time in years, I thought maybe I could breathe without apologizing for it. Still, beneath all the noise, one thought kept circling back. She won't stop. Not until she feels in control again. My mother's silence is never peace, it's calculation. The night air shifted cooler, sharper. My phone buzzed again, screen lighting up the dark room. A blocked number. I hesitated before opening it. The text was short, 6 words that sliced through the calm I'd started to build. The message came at midnight from a blocked number. You think you've won? Monsters don't disappear, they evolved. Oddity first. I thought the midnight message was just Evelyn's final tantrum, a desperate attempt to claw back control. But the messages didn't stop. Every morning brought a new one. You've shamed us. You regret this. Families don't survive betrayal. Each came from a different number, a different email, always signed the same way, Mother. My inbox filled faster than I could delete. The words burned through the screen like acid, sharp, precise, deliberate. This wasn't rage. It was strategy. I filed a report, told the officer everything. He nodded, took notes, promised to keep an eye out. But when he asked, do you have proof she intends to harm you? I realized how powerless I still was. Proof? The proof was in the way my skin prickled whenever my phone buzzed. Officer, if she's only sending texts, there's not much we can do until there's a direct threat. Me. She said I'd regret this. Officer, that's vague. People say worse online every day. Me. She's not people. She's my mother. His sigh came with the kind of tired sympathy that meant case closed. Officer, change your numbers. Stay somewhere else if you can. Me quietly. You don't understand. She always finds a way. When I stepped outside the precinct, the air had that metallic chill, the kind that bites deeper at night. Street lights flickered. A car idled across the street a few seconds longer than it should have before driving off. I told myself it was coincidence, but fear doesn't listen to logic. It listens to silence and how it starts to sound wrong. The next evening, Zoe called. Her voice was trembling, like she'd been crying for hours. Zoe, Ava, you need to stop this. Me. Stop what? I didn't start any of this. Zoe, Moms, she's not okay. She's drinking again, talking to herself, saying you ruined everything. She said, she sees you even when you're not there. That last line made something twist inside me. Me. Zoe, listen to me. Has she tried to come to the city? Zoe, she doesn't sleep. She walks around at night, talking about finishing what she started. Dad's avoiding her. I'm scared, Ava. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was dense like air waiting for thunder. Me softly. If she's unraveling, she's dangerous. Zoe, you think she'd hurt you? Me. I know she already has. I remembered the last time Evelyn lost control, the hospital corridor. My pleading voice, her cold stare as she walked past me, pretending not to hear the machines beeping behind me. Some people kill without touching you. They just decide you're not worth saving. That night, I took the bracelet from the drawer, the one I'd removed the day the recording went viral. I ran my thumb over the engraving. Forever yours. I realized it wasn't just a message. It was a threat, a mother's version of ownership. I dropped it into a small box, sealed it with tape, and shoved it into the closet. But even closed away, it felt like the metal was humming, alive, angry, remembering. By the third night, the messages changed tone. No words, just images. One of my hospital building, another of the street near my apartment, then one of my own balcony from below. My hands went cold. I could almost smell the damp concrete, the faint trace of cigarette smoke from somewhere near my window. Whoever was taking those pictures wasn't far. Daniel on call. Ava, this isn't normal harassment. She's escalating. Me. You think it's her? Daniel. Who else would know where you live? Me. I never told her. She must have found the hospital records. Daniel. You need to go somewhere safe now. Me. Safe stopped existing when I posted that video. He didn't argue after that. Just silence, the heavy kind that says I wish I could protect you. But I can't. That night, the wind picked up. My window rattled in short bursts, the sound like quiet knocking. Every shadow in the room felt too deep to still. The hum of the refrigerator, the creak of the floorboards, everything suddenly had intent. Even the dark seemed to breathe. It hit me then, this wasn't about revenge anymore. Evelyn didn't want her image back. She wanted control. And if she couldn't have it publicly, she'd take it in private by reminding me that I'd never truly escaped her. You can't reason with a ghost that's still alive. In my mind, I saw her again, Evelyn at the vanity mirror, perfect posture, lipstick flawless. She once said, "Power isn't what they give you, Ava. It's what they fear losing." Now she was the one losing it, and I was the thing she feared. My reflection looked like hers for a moment, tight jaw, steady eyes, calm surface masking chaos underneath. Maybe the cycle wasn't broken. Maybe it had just switched hosts, but I wouldn't become her. Not even to survive. A flash of light cut through the window. A pair of headlights crawling slowly across the building, across the street. Then a familiar shape behind the wheel. My heart didn't race. It froze. Because I knew that car. When I saw the headlights outside my apartment, I knew whose car it was. The same car that broke me came back to finish the job. The low hum outside. My apartment wasn't just another engine passing by, it was that engine. The one that used to roar in our driveway, announcing Zoe's arrival. Her laughter echoing through the halls while my mother clapped like she'd raised royalty. Now, that same sound crawled under my skin. I froze near the window. The blinds barely parted. The silver car idled across the street, headlights spilling cold light into my living room. My pulse stumbled. No one else drove that car. No one but Zoe. But the shape behind the wheel wasn't Zoe's. It was my mother. For a second, I thought I was hallucinating. The world had gone eerily still, the kind of silence where even air feels afraid to move. Then a violent slam. Evelyn's palm hit the steering wheel. Her hair was disheveled, her lips moving in broken fragments of my name. Ava, you think you can ruin me? Her voice cut through the glass like shattered ice. Me whispering to myself, no, she wouldn't come here, not like this. Me whispering to myself, no, she wouldn't come here, not like this. Evelyn outside, screaming, you turned Zoe against me. You made her hate her own family. Her words slurred, but the venom was intact, thick, familiar, decades old. I fumbled for my phone. My fingers shook so hard the screen blurred. Operator, calm voice. 911. What's your emergency? Me. There's a woman outside my apartment, drunk, yelling my name. She's my mother. A pause. Operator. Is she armed? Me. No. Just armed with hate. Outside, Evelyn slammed her door open and staggered out, bottle still in hand. Streetlight glinted off the glass. An amber spark against the night. Evelyn. You think you're safe in there? You owe me, Ava. You owe this family. Me to myself. After everything you've taken. You still think I owe you? Her words wobbled between rage and despair. I could hear the muffled hiccup of tears, then another scream. She climbed back into the driver's seat. The car jerked forward, then stopped. The engine growled loud, desperate, unstable. Me whispering, don't do this, Mom. I pressed the phone to my ear, but the operator's voice faded behind the roar. The street shimmered under the yellow sodium lamps. The rain from earlier left a film on the asphalt, slick, glistening like black glass. Inside, the smell of burnt coffee still lingered from an hour ago, but now it mixed with something metallic fear, sharp and electric. Through the blinds, I saw the car lurch again, tires screeching. The front wheels spun in place, the headlights sweeping across my building like two angry eyes. Then silence. For a heartbeat, the world forgot how to breathe, and then the sound came. Tires cutting through the wet road, the sharp swerve of metal against curb. My chest locked as the car accelerated, straight toward the lamppost at the intersection. No, the scream ripped out of me before I could stop it. The crash wasn't cinematic. It was brutal, blunt, and final. A deep, cracking explosion of glass and steel. The air outside filled with the echo of it, the car flipping once, twice, before collapsing on its roof. My knees gave out. The phone slid from my hand. Somewhere in the distance, sirens began to rise. Slow, mournful, getting closer. Neighbor through the door. Ava? What happened? Me barely breathing. It's my mother. She crashed. Neighbor. Oh my God, was she chasing you? Me numb. No, she was chasing the version of herself she destroyed. I ran outside before reason could catch me. The air was thick with gasoline and smoke. The silver car, the same one she'd flaunted for years, lay twisted, its once glossy paint smeared with blood and oil. She was alive, bruised, bloodied, eyes barely open but alive. Her trembling hand reached for me through the broken window. Evelyn, hoarse whisper, Ava, help me. I stood there, frozen between duty and vengeance. The woman who raised me, the same woman who made me feel invisible, was now reduced to this fragile, pleading figure. My mind flashed through memories, birthdays forgotten, favors denied, her smile when Zoe got the car. The metallic scent grew stronger. The sound of sirens swallowed the street. Me softly. You always said that car was family. Now it's all you have left. Rain began again, gentle but cold. Each drop hissed against the burning hood. The heat licked at my face. I stepped back as firefighters arrived. Their shouts and the spray of the hose blurred into white noise. My body trembled, not from fear, but from the cruel symmetry of it all. The car that broke me had finally broken her too. For a second, I almost pitied her. Then I saw her eyes half open, defiant even through pain, and realized pity was the one thing she'd never earned. When she woke up, she asked for me not to apologize, but to bargain. Even on her hospital bed, she still thought she could buy redemption. The antiseptic smell clung to the walls, sterile, suffocating, too clean for the kind of dirt that lived between us. Machines hummed softly beside her, each beat marking time she no longer deserved. My mother looked smaller than I remembered, her hair unbrushed, her lips pale and trembling around words she hadn't yet earned. I'd imagined this moment 100 times, me standing here, her lying there, but none of my fantasies prepared me for the sight of her eyes. They weren't apologetic. They were calculating. She's not sorry. She's scared. The difference hit me harder than any slap ever had. Evelyn weakly, Ava, darling, you came. Me. I had to make sure you were alive. Evelyn forced chuckle. Such a good daughter. Always worrying about others. Her voice cracked mid-sentence, but I saw it, that faint twitch of a smile. The same one she used when she thought she could still control the room. Me. Is that what this is? Another performance? Evelyn frowning. No, I just wanted to see you, to fix things. She gestured weakly toward the chair. I didn't move. Her eyes flicked toward the nurse outside, then back to me, the old manipulative rhythm returning like muscle memory. Evelyn, people are talking. About the accident. About what you said online. Me. I didn't say anything. Evelyn, tight smile. But you didn't stop it either. The silence between us hummed. Her breathing hitched with every word, but her tone was still laced with that venomous superiority. Even broken bones couldn't fracture her pride. Evelyn, listen, Ava. I can make this all go away. The rumors, the embarrassment. I can fix your reputation too. Me quietly. Mine doesn't need fixing. Evelyn, oh, don't be naive. The world is cruel to women who bite back. You need protection, money, name, power. I tilted my head. Her hand trembled as she reached for me, 4 tubes quivering. For a split second, I thought she was reaching out of love. But then, Evelyn, if you help me rebuild, I'll make you my sole heir. The house, the accounts, all of it. You can finally have what's rightfully yours. Her words hung in the air, sticky and false. There it was, the same transaction that defined our family. Even love had a price tag. Me. You're offering me the life you already took away. Evelyn, I'm offering you a chance to forgive me. Me, no. Mom, you're offering me hush money. Her jaw tightened. For the first time, the facade slipped. She looked desperate, eyes glassy, voice trembling. Evelyn, I did what I had to Ava. You think I liked favoring Zoe? You think I wanted to choose between my daughters? Me. You didn't choose between us. You chose yourself. The monitor beside her beeped faster. She swallowed, her throat working hard against whatever pride she still had left. Evelyn pleading, I was wrong. But we can start again. I just need you to stand beside me when I recover. Smile. Say you forgive me. Me. So the world still thinks you're the perfect mother. Evelyn shaky. It's not about image. It's about family. Me leaning closer. No, it's about control. And you lost it. For a moment, the only sound was the rhythmic hiss of oxygen. Her eyes darted, looking for an angle, an escape, a weakness in me, but there wasn't one left to find. The room was dim except for the fluorescent glare above her bed. Every light flicker drew a sharp reflection across her for needle. The smell of disinfectant mingled with the faint trace of her perfume, the same brand she used when she hugged Zoe in front of guests, pretending affection. Her nails were chipped, her hands trembling. I noticed the hospital bracelet, Evelyn heart gleaming under the white light. I remembered the diamond bracelet she once gifted Zoe, how it caught sunlight like a promise. This one caught guilt. For a second, a part of me wanted to forgive her. The part that still remembered bedtime stories and half-finished lullabies. But forgiveness is easy when you don't owe it to the truth. She doesn't want redemption. She wants an audience. I stepped closer, enough that she could feel my breath near her ear. Her eyes widened, the first flicker of fear I'd ever seen in her. Dotted me softly. You already paid the price, Mom. Evelyn panicking. Ava, wait. I straightened, my heartbeat oddly steady. Me. You taught me everything I needed to survive, even how to walk away. Her monitor spiked as I turned. The sound of her voice cracked behind me, fragile, fading. The hall outside was colder than I remembered. Each step echoed against linoleum, the sterile air pressing in like judgment. When I reached the end of the corridor, I stopped. Through the glass reflection, I saw her clutching her blanket, mouthing my name like a prayer she didn't believe in. But just when I thought it was over, a letter arrived written in my mother's handwriting. Sometimes, the deadliest revenge doesn't come from hate, it comes from love twisted beyond repair. The envelope arrived a week after the funeral. No return address, just my name, written in the sharp, looping handwriting I'd seen on birthday cards and grocery lists my whole life. Evelyn Harper. My mother. For a long time, I didn't open it. It sat on my kitchen table beside a chipped mug and the silence of my empty apartment. Every time I looked at it, my stomach tightened, like she was still here, still watching. When I finally tore it open, her perfume drifted out first, faint, powdery, the scent she used to wear on Sunday mornings. My hands shook as I unfolded the letter. The paper crackled like old firewood. Ava, it began, if you're reading this, I'm already gone. I imagine you're crying, or maybe you're smiling. You always did have a flair for drama. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just listened to the sound of my own heartbeat, slow, deliberate, waiting for what came next. You think you were the victim, she wrote. But I want you to understand something before you dance on my grave. You were never my enemy. You were my mirror. Every failure, every insecurity I buried, I saw in you. I whispered. You saw yourself in me and punished me for it. The walls didn't answer, but I could almost hear her voice, crisp and cold. Don't play the victim, Ava. When Zoe was born, I told myself I'd do better. I wanted one daughter who would love me without judgment. You always questioned everything her. She just smiled and obeyed. That's why I protected her. That's why I gave her everything you wanted. I felt my jaw clench. Everything I wanted. The car, the support, the affection. All of it parceled out to the golden child while I learned to survive on crumbs. But what I didn't tell anyone, the letter continued, is that Zoe wasn't as innocent as you think. She took money from me. Yes, but she also took something else. The same thing you took from me long ago, peace. My hands froze. The page trembled. Peace? What kind of mother blames her daughter for her own restlessness? The night before I died, Zoe came to see me. She was crying. She said she couldn't live with what she'd done to you. She wanted to tell you the truth, but I told her not to. Some truths destroy what little family remains, I muttered under my breath, and lies don't. The room felt colder suddenly. A gust slipped through the half-closed window. lifting the edge of the letter like it wanted to escape. If I'd loved you right, maybe you wouldn't have turned out like me. But it's too late now. Blood doesn't forget, Ava. Even ashes remember. The words blurred. My eyes burned, but not from tears, from fury restrained too long. Outside, the wind howled against the glass. It sounded like someone breathing through clenched teeth. I walked to the stove, lit a match. The flame snapped to life, small, eager. The letter dangled between my fingers, edges curling as fire kissed the paper. Her words blackened, shriveled, and vanished into smoke that smelled like perfume and rot. Somewhere deep in my chest, something unclenched, but something else, something darker stayed. For a moment, I saw the wrecked car in my mind again, Zoe's car, twisted and silent under the gray sky that day. I remembered standing beside it, watching the tow truck haul away what was left of her dream. The same car that started everything, the same car that ended it. Now, here I was again, a different wreck, but the same silence. I wanted to forgive her. God, I did. But forgiveness is for people who regret. Evelyn's words weren't regret. They were confession as performance cruelty wearing honesty's mask. Maybe that was her final victory. Making sure even her apology bled, I dropped the last ember into the sink and watched it die in a hiss of water and smoke. Freedom didn't feel clean. It felt hollow. 2 days later, I found myself standing at the junkyard. The wreck sat there, Zoe's car stripped of color, glass shattered like frozen tears. The air smelled of oil and rust. Wind tugged at my hair, sharp and metallic, whispering through twisted frames. I rested my hand on the dented hood. I hope you're both at peace, I whispered. My voice barely made it through the noise of rattling chains and wind, but the silence that followed felt heavier than forgiveness. As the wind rattled through the twisted metal, I realized some cars never stop crashing.